Hey everyone, what's up? Yes, as you can see, the title down below says it best. Today is a special live 38th birthday topics on my mind. And yes, today is my 38th birthday. Yes, I am officially 38 years old, 2 years away from 40. And if tradition serves me if tradition serves me right, my if tradition serves me right, my 40th birthday will be a special one, especially due to the fact that I could be Vegas bound if tradition serves me right. I'm going to be Vegas bound in about 2 years. Now, originally, I had scheduled these days off due to a few reasons. One, today's my birthday, and I thought I'd be going out, maybe having a few, if you will, with family. That didn't happen, but it probably will happen tomorrow. So it kind of a daylight, whatever. But yeah, today is my 38th birthday, so I am happy about that. I'm very happy. I know some people, when they hear that they're near a certain milestone, when it comes to birthdays, they're happy, but they're not happy because sometimes it's like, oh, great, well, just another step to being older than we should, and it's another step to the fact that time flies by. What are you going to do? Anyway, the topics I wanted to talk about today, as you see in the description, vary from a lot of things, and I might add a few things in there as well, talk about some other things as well. But the first thing I want to talk about is, as we've all discussed over the past few days lately, ever since San Diego Comic-Con and even before then, the Sonic the Hedgehog comics have gone through have gone through a lot behind the scenes, if you will, in the past several days. Just to get you caught up to speed, or what I'm trying to say is just to get you caught up to speed. This past week, I think it was around Wednesday, on the 21st, I believe. I think it was the 20. No, it was the 19th. It was the 19th. It was a week, just about a week ago tomorrow. It'll be a week ago tomorrow. Sega came out and announced that they had ended their 24-year, near 25, almost 25, but basically 24, near 25-year partnership with Archie Comics. Now, what's funny about this is Archie Comics didn't attend San Diego Comic-Con. The only representation they had was on the CW panel with the Riverdale cast. And I don't know what kind of reaction they got. They probably got mostly cheers, the Riverdale cast, but I'm pretty sure they also got some jeers, some boos, maybe, because of the fact that a lot of people will pretty much, when they want to put blame on something, or at least have something share the blame for the cancellation of the book, they're going to end up pointing to Riverdale just as much as they'll point to somebody like Ken Penders or Sega or Archie themselves. So, or even Ian Flynn. But yeah, Archie Comics didn't show up at San Diego Comic-Con this past week, but Sega was there. So was IDW. And what does this have in common? Well, basically, like I said, to catch you up to speed, a few days after it was announced that Archie Comics and Sega were no longer going to be working together, and Archie Comics being completely silent on it, a few days later at the IDW comic book panel at SDCC, San Diego Comic-Con, SDCC for short, it was announced that IDW had partnered up with Sega. They have acquired the license. So now, starting in 2018, we don't know if it's going to be at the beginning of the year, which I think would probably be the best option, or if it's going to be later on. IDW will now be publishing the Sonic comics. And a lot of people, from Mega Beatman to Sega Bits, to Tails Channel, to Sonic Speed News. Everybody in between has been speculating as to what's going to happen, have been discussing the possibilities of what could occur with the comic, and what direction they feel what direction they feel IDW and Sega would take the comic. Now, here's why here's why I want to discuss this. Recently, as a lot of you have seen here on YouTube, and I think a lot of you, which is like 200, nearly 250 plus, I can almost assume that now. Well, nearly 250 plus viewers. I came on YouTube here. I recorded a message via my digital voice recorder, and it was a fan's message to IDW, and mostly to IDW Publishing and Chris Ryall, the COO of IDW. And I explained to him basically, as you've heard in the audio video, I explained to him basically, why, why the comic basically is very important to us, why certain characters are important to us. I also let him know that as fans, we'd be completely understanding of whether or not they'd have to go in a direction that may not be what we expect, but may satisfy us in the end. I came up with a lot of ideas. I gave him some suggestions. I even pointed these out even before I gave them. I suggested that if they have to completely retcon the book or reboot the book and focus mainly on the game characters, that's fine, as long as maybe down the line we can get guest appearances by characters like Sally Acorn, Rotor, Bunny, and Antoine. And by making these guest appearances and maybe multi-part arcs, maybe 2, 3, 4-part arcs, you would at least establish them in your way into the now IDW Sonic universe. So basically in a way you'd bring them in. So basically they bring them in, but do it in a way that says, yeah, they're part of the universe, but they're not going to be the main focus. Now, I also mentioned that the best way to do this, and everybody else has talked about this, that the best way to do this, even if they wanted to finish it up and then go on their own, one of the best ways I told them, I kind of mentioned to them that if they're going to go the multi-book direction, if you will, is, if they're going to do a new Sonic the Hedgehog main book, like a main primary book, they should start, if they're going to reboot, but kind of keep it in the same continuity and same veins as the Archie universe, or the Archie comics, I should say, established, that, in my opinion, the best way to do it is to basically to re-release Genesis of a Hero, basically re-release the first 3 parts that were released originally under the Archie license, and then release the 4th part under the IDW license, and then go from there and start focusing on the stories that were originally penciled and planned, if not already finalized and finished for the Archie run, start focusing on them and go from there. I also mentioned that if they're going to do maybe, like I said, I also mentioned that if they're going to do multi-books, and one of them could be a Sonic Universe book or their take on Sonic Universe, that the best way to do that is to start off with the Freedom Fighters arc, which this right here, this poster right here, is one of the variant covers that was going to be part of that. That perhaps that's what they should do to start off the Sonic Universe book, if they decide to do one. Then that way you have a spin-off book that introduces these characters that may be new to this newer generation. That's just my suggestion on it. I also mentioned that, they could do, probably bring in and do multi-books from like a main, that range from a main Sonic book to a Sonic Universe book. I mentioned that they could probably folk probably also do spin-off books based on Sonic Boom, you know, a comic that's primarily focused on the game characters, stuff like that. So those are just some of my suggestions. And what happened was yesterday, I went online yesterday because I had done the audio video the day before. Yeah, I did the audio video the day before. So what happened is yesterday morning, as my mom is driving me to work because she's off right now during the summer, so she gives me a ride to work so I don't have to spend so much on the bus. I'm gonna have to get a bus pass next month anyway. But she drove me to work, and during this time, while we were heading towards my job, I tweeted that video. I put that video on Twitter, and I tagged IDW Publishing, Chris Rael, um, I think Sega. Let me see. Yeah, I tagged I tagged I tagged Chris Rael. I tagged IDW Publishing, Sega, the official Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter, CBR, Comic Book Resources, Comic Con, San Diego Comic Con, Comic Con International, Archie Comics, and then I used the hashtags SDCC 2010, hashtag SDCC, hashtag SDCC 17, and hashtag Sonic. And like I said, hashtag SDCC 2017, not 2010. That was my mistake there. I'm sorry. But yeah, those were the hashtags I used after tagging Chris Rael, IDW Publishing, Sega, the Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter, CBR, Comic Book Resources, Comic Con International, San Diego Comic Con, Archie Comics, and then like I said, I used the hashtags San Diego SDCC 2017, SDCC, SDCC 17, and Sonic to uh, link to kind of link the message to for basically to share the video all the way around. Now, what's funny is not even, and this is a fact, almost not even 40 minutes after I did this, and I think 40 minutes, about 30 minutes, I should say. I would say not even 40 minutes after I did this, I get a retweet and a quote from Chris Rael himself. That's right, Chris Rael, the COO of IDW Publishing, the guy that announced that Sonic the Hedgehog was coming to the publications at San Diego Comic-Con, quoted me and retweeted what I had said. And this quoted me and retweeted what I had posted. And this is what he quoted to me. Oh, he basically retweeted me. He quoted what I said, and this is what Chris Rael said in return. He said, and I quote, "I can't tell you how happy this level of passion makes me. We're very excited to represent Sonic now for fans like you. This is going to be fun." And I don't know if you could see that very well, but yeah, that is the tweet. Oh, it went off. Sorry about that. Again, I don't know if you could see that very well, but that is the tweet right there that he sent me. Yeah, that is the tweet. So that was amazing. And like I said, that was like 40 minutes after. And I started work at 9:30. So you got to imagine that it's about what 12:30 out there. So 40 minutes after it has to be like 1 o'clock, 1:10. So I was very appreciative of that. I was surprised. And quite honestly, it's not the first time I've had someone well known, or at least well known in the medium or media or medium, whatever you want to call it, um, basically answer back to me. I remember many years ago when I lived in Kansas still, I did a fan vid for Berenstain Bears, and I used clips, not clips, well, clips, yes, but I also used scenes, pictures from the books, and I sent this out, and I somehow, I think they had it on the website or something like that. I gotten a hold of Jan Berenstein's email, and God rest her soul. I got a hold of her email, and I sent this to her, thinking, okay, she'll probably watch it, and they'll probably see it, and they won't say anything after that. Much to my surprise, I ended up getting a response from her thanking me for that video. So, yeah, it shows you that it basically shows you that if you share your passion, your love for something to somebody that mainly is like the head person in charge or one of the founders or founding fathers or the mothers or whatever, or the head person in charge, like a COO, then you'll be surprised what happens. And I was surprised Chris Rael responded to me, especially with his busy schedule. I was surprised he listened to that 19-minute, 11-minute video. But yeah, that was a surprise to me. Like I said, like I quoted him, like he mentioned to me there, he's happy to see this level of passion come from fans like me, because what I did with the video, and hopefully a lot of you have seen, I used various covers and scenes and stuff from the Archie comic run, as well as two, I think, screenshots from Sonic SatAM Season 2, Blast of the Past, to kind of give him an idea of exactly how we fans feel about these characters and how we hope that these characters will be integrated into the new IDW run. I even told him basically, I think the censure for him and the rest of IDW is the fact that this comic is the longest under the Archie publication, was and still is the longest running video game comic in history, and that is something I'm sure they will run under their umbrella. So hopefully they take that into consideration, but we'll have to wait and see. I told him, like I said in the video, we're completely understanding of what he has to do, what they have to do to really get the attention of a lot of the newer generation. But when we look at, and I even brought up though the whole run with the Walt Disney comics and all that, and the successful runs with My Little Pony, Transformers, Walt Disney comics, and even now things like Rocky and Bullwinkle. I'm sure there's a lot of kids of this generation that don't know who the heck Rocky and Bullwinkle are. They have to research them. So yeah, hopefully seeing something like that, it gives me hope, and it gives anybody else hope that we're going to get the Sonic comics that we want and hope for from this new run, and hopefully we'll get our characters back in some form of capacity. Maybe, like I said, maybe they'll give us something similar to what they do with, some of the publications they got, like the Walt Disney comics, where they will basically just continue where it left off, but under the IDW publishing name. Because, as I said before, and I'll say it again, it's basically like a show moving from one network to another. Nothing's really changing. The only difference is it's continuing on another network. So hopefully we get the answers there. What I'm saying is, hopefully we'll get the answers we want soon. And honestly, if I was to do a prediction, easy for me to say, a projection prediction as to when we'll get more information, I'd say it's going to be New York Comic Con. It'll be New York Comic Con, which usually takes place at the end of the year, towards the beginning of next year. So I would say around that time frame, we'll get a little bit more information. And again, hopefully it'll be the kind of information we want. One thing a lot of people have talked about and brought up is the way it can be done is similar to what they've done with Ninja Turtles, especially the main Ninja Turtles book, where they've just took in everything from every Turtles media, from the cartoons, the movies, the Mirage run, and all that, and just made an algorithm mixture, or algorithm mixture, if you will, of a continuity. So hopefully they might consider doing that, but we don't know. A lot of people feel there's too much baggage. I think IDW knows what they're going to do, and I think IDW has an idea of what they're going to do, and hopefully it'll be done correctly, especially with the team they're putting together. And if they bring back Ian Flynn for the run and all that, hopefully he'll bring some fan knowledge because remember Ian was a fan at first, some fan perspective as to what we would like to see. So hopefully we'll get, like I said, hopefully by New York Comic Con we'll get more answers to our questions. All right. Next thing I want to talk about is something that was hashtagged. Next thing I want to talk about is a hashtag that was started this past Sunday, about almost 48 hours ago. And that is the hashtag Fire Road Dog. Now, a lot of fans have basically been very critical of SmackDown Live ever since Road Dogg took over the head writing duties from Ryan Ward. Now, Ryan Ward is still in a writing capacity, but he's more like a co-writer, more like a supervisor or some kind of, I don't know, but basically he's still part of the creative process. He's just not the head guy. It's like he can make suggestions and maybe they'll work, maybe they'll take it, but he's not the head guy. And ever since Road Dogg, Brian James, or Brian Armstrong, or James Armstrong, Brian Armstrong took over, Brian James, the Road Dogg, took over, a lot of people have been very critical. You know, I've come out and I've basically said that, I mean, we tweeted this message to OTR Central. You know, I'm just wondering if Road Dogg still thinks when it comes to creative process and writing, if he's still in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I'm wondering if he still thinks that. Because, you know, the way the creative process has been, it's almost very similar to what you saw in Smoky Mountain, if you followed that, and what you saw in the USWA. You know, sometimes the stories made sense and sometimes they didn't. And a lot of people have been fed up with the direction SmackDown Live has been going under this creative booking by Road Dogg, that BattleGround to a lot of them was the last straw. It's like this was it. It's like enough's enough. This guy's got to go. This guy's got to leave. And that's why the whole hashtag Fire Road Dogg has been trending. You don't think so? So let me discuss that first. I mean, I understand you may not like the way some people book things. Here's the thing. This is like with any job. We may not like who gets put in charge of a certain department or division or whatever, because pretty much we feel they don't know what they're doing and they have to rely on people that do know what they're doing or do know how to take care of something, but yet they're not in that position and they should be. You know, I can understand where people come from. There are several people at my job that are in positions, I'm not going to name anybody, that are a little higher up than me, and yet they may not know what they're doing, and they have to rely on, and they have to call upon someone like me or other people to kind of show them what to do, because they're in a position to where they probably have the credentials to do it, but they don't have the knowledge of how to work certain parts that need to be worked on while in that position. So again, I can understand how fans feel about someone like Road Dogg being in a position of being the head writer, the creative writer. I can understand that. I can accept that. Like I said, I can understand. I can accept that. But do we really have to put the? But let me ask you this. You know, Jeff Siegel, the Slug Daddy, asked on OTR Essential in a video, "What if El Patron is innocent?" Well, here's my question to you to kind of paraphrase that or kind of rework that question. What if Road Dogg is innocent? Yeah. Let me remind you. Who does this all start and end with? Right. Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon is the head guy in charge. And although he may not be at every show at times, he may not be at SmackDown that much, do you not think Road Dogg doesn't report to him? Do you not think Road Dogg doesn't pass along certain storylines that have been suggested to him by Ryan Ward and other creative staff that maybe even he likes, maybe Road Dogg enjoys, but as much as he is in agreement maybe with someone like a Ryan Ward and others, that Vince McMahon may not be a fan of it and say, nope, scrap it, here's what you do, and maybe he gives him a suggestion. Have you ever thought of that? Think about it. Think about this, okay? Vince McMahon has never thought highly of SmackDown. And anytime SmackDown ever started out doing Raw in a brand split, what happens in the end? He destroys it. He finds a way to cause it to crumble to establish that Monday Night Raw is the superior brand. So, my question to you folks, right here and now, is how do you know Road Dogg is not innocent in all this? What if he's just following the orders of Vince McMahon? You could say that, well, Road Dogg is in the position because he's pals with Triple H. Okay, fine. You can believe that, but what if he did get it because he's pals with Triple H? But what if he got it at the suggestion not of Triple H, but of somebody else? Like, let's say Vince, like a Stephanie McMahon. Maybe he's a favor to Triple H, but instead of reporting to Triple H, he's reporting to Stephanie. He's reporting to Vince. And they're the ones telling him, no, don't go with those ideas. Go with these. I'm just saying. I want you to think about that. I understand people's frustrations. I really do. I'll give you a good example of somebody that put a positive face on and looked at the positives, didn't look at it more as a, what the blank is going on here kind of deal. And that's Brian Zane of Wrestling with Regret. Whether you agree with whether you agree with his thought process, whether you agree with his thought process on it or not, Brian Zane looked at the entertainment possibility of it. He didn't look at the whole, oh well, this is screwed up. This guy shouldn't be in charge. Da 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 da. He looked at the entertainment value. He criticized certain things that shouldn't have happened during the show, but he looked at more of the positives than the negatives. And I think Brian Zane also knows the truth. And the truth is, Road Dogg may not be the one that's signing off on this. Vince McMahon is. Stephanie McMahon is. They're the ones that are probably telling him, do this and that. When you have guys like Ryan Ward and other creative staff saying, hey, look at this idea. This is going to be great. This will advance the storyline. This will develop the character. And Road Dogg's probably looking at it like, yeah, I agree with that. Let me go show this to Vince, see what he says. And you got to put yourself in the mind perspective of Road Dogg. He may agree with the ideas he's given by his other creative staff, but in the end, he doesn't sign off on it. Vince McMahon does. And if Vince McMahon and Stephanie McMahon say no, then they got to come up. They say no, and right then and there, maybe they come up with a different idea and say, hey, this is what you're going to do instead. Who's really to blame? Who is really to blame here? I wouldn't, what's funny is the Schleck Daddy said that in this country, we have a legal system or a traditional system that basically says you are guilty. I mean, you are innocent until proven guilty. You are innocent until proven guilty. So how do we know Road Dogg is guilty in all this? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Is he guilty or is he innocent? We don't know. Okay? Because remember, the person that writes off on this, the person that signs off on this, is the chairman himself and maybe even his daughter. You got to think about that. And when you think about that, think about this. Like I said, Vince McMahon doesn't like when his baby, Monday Night Raw, is being outshined by his second longest running show in SmackDown. He doesn't like that because what has SmackDown become before in the previous brand split and in this current brand split before WrestleMania? In those separate brand splits, what did SmackDown become on its own? It became the wrestling show, right? The wrestling show. What does Vince not like? The word wrestling. So Vince, seeing that SmackDown that's shining his show, says, it ain't gonna happen. Not gonna happen. I'm gonna make sure that doesn't happen. So what does he do? He puts a plan into motion to take the stars that have helped make SmackDown what it is, put them on Raw, and decides, you know what? We need somebody else as a head writer. Who can we get? And probably at the suggestion of his daughter, maybe at the suggestion of Triple H, I'm not saying, but a suggestion as someone like his daughter or whoever, or maybe even himself, he decided, you know what? Let's get Road Dogg in there. Yeah, Brian James will be the new head writer. Yes, that'll work. Because you got to remember this. Like I said, Vince doesn't like it when somebody outshines him. He didn't like it when WCW outshined WWE. You know, so do you think he was going to give WCW a chance to win in the Invasion storyline? No. He did everything. He went out of his way to humiliate both them and ECW to prove a point that you don't go up against Vince McMahon in the WWE. So, again, I asked this question. How do we know Road Dogg is not innocent in all this? Just saying. Because who writes off on it in the end? Think about that. That's all I'm really going to say because honestly, I don't think anybody should be fired over this. I think what we need to look at is who signs off on it in the end. That's what we need to look at. That's what we need to look at, okay? So I want you guys to think about that for a moment. Think about that as you watch SmackDown Live tonight. And remember, whatever you see on SmackDown Live, it might have been written by Road Dogg, but then again, it might have been written by somebody or suggested and basically ordered to be done by somebody else. Think about that. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's talk about something here that's very interesting. Next month, let's talk about Netflix here. Netflix has rolled out its schedule of releases for August. And one of the things that stuck out to me and many other fans is, I think, August 8th, which on August 8th, you will get the first 13 episodes, the first half, if you will, of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Season 7. That's right, you will get the first half of Season 7 on Netflix on August 8th. And what's funny about this is this falls just about less than a week after, I think couple of days after, I believe, the second half of Season 7 premieres on Discovery Family and the rest of the world. So, yeah, you get your double dose of My Little Pony. So, just in case you couldn't catch up with the first half of Season 7, you're now going to get your chance, along with catching up with the second half on Discovery Family. which is pretty cool. Which is, like I said, which is pretty cool. Now, one of the news items that did come out, according to Malunimus, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, is it sounds like we're going to get some two-parter, we're going to get back-to-back episodes. Yeah, apparently when the second half of season 7 premieres, it's going to premiere just like the first half premiered, and that is back-to-back, and that's probably, and from what it sounds like, that's the direction we're probably going to go in for the rest of the season. We're going to go back-to-back episodes. And I think in a way it makes sense, because if you're going to go back-to-back, that helps out going into the movie. Think about it. Episode 14 and 15, episode 16, 17, you got 4 episodes in 2 weeks. You got, because here's how it worked. You would have episodes 14 and 15 one Saturday. You'd have episodes 16 and you'd have, okay, let me put this. Episode 14 and 15 one Saturday. 16 and 17. 18 and 19. 20, 21. 22, 23. 24, 25, and probably 26. Think about that. 7 weeks. 7 weeks. How does that work out as far as the movie's concerned? I'll tell you how. I'll tell you how. I'll tell you how. From the first Saturday of the month to the end of that run, basically, hold on. I'll show you. Let's see if I got it. You got 4 weeks in August. So you got basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have 8 episodes that'll happen back to back. I don't know if you can see that, but you'll have 8 episodes that'll happen back to back on those Saturdays. 8 episodes. So when you think about it, that's 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. You will have up to episode 21 for that. Then when you look at September, it's a little longer. You would have 22, 23 on the 2nd. You'd have 24, 25, and then you would have 26 on the 23rd. And that would lead you right into the movie if the back-to-back, if they're going to continue with back-to-back. Like I said, you're going to have back-to-back. If they're going the back-to-back route, it works because this way, basically, they'll be able to speed up the process of the season, and they will basically get us into. They'll basically speed up the process of the season, but they'll also make it worth our while because this way they'll at least give us like maybe a week or 2 before the movie. So for a lot of us that haven't caught up on all of season 7, we can watch the first half on Netflix and on demand, as well as watch the second half on demand as well. So that way we're caught up with the entire season, and there you go. That's the way I'm looking at it. That's the way I'm looking at it. That basically starting August 5th, you're going to have back-to-back episodes. You're going to have, like I said, oh, sorry, my finger hit the mic there. You're going to have back-to-back episodes on the 5th, which are episodes 14 and 15. You're going to have back-to-back episodes on the 12th, which is 16 and 17. On the 19th, which is going to be 18 and 19. On the 26th, which is going to be 20 and 21. And then on the 2nd, you're going to have 21 and 22. You're going to have 22 and 23. On the 9th, you're going to have 24, 25. And you'll probably have 26 on the 16th. Now, unless they take a break for a while and they add an additional episode or they replay one of the Equestria Girl episodes, expect by the 9th or the 16th for season 7 to come to an end. And then, like I say, give us a bit of a break to catch up on the season through Netflix and on demand. And then the movie comes out. So it kind of works out in the end. And here's the thing. They may not do back to back all the time. They may like separate it so it extends at least maybe to a week before the movie or 2 weeks before the movie. So I want you to think about that being the reasoning. You see, they don't see. I think what Discovery Family, DHX Media, and Hasbro are doing is they're realizing, well, wait a minute. If we have season 7 continuing while the movie's happening, continuity-wise, it won't make any sense. But if they're connecting the movie but if the movie is part of the continuity, then this works, because then you go from season 7, you lead into the movie, then the movie leads into season 8. There you go. Everything works out in the end. So overall, so basically that's the news going on there. You know, with My Little Pony Friendship is Magic season 7. The fact that the first half is coming out on the first half is coming out on Netflix on the 8th, from what I understand, just a few days after the second half does. Excuse me. And as far as the possible back-to-back run, I would expect that to happen due to the fact that they want to try to speed season 7 up to make it align continuity-wise in time for the movie. So that's why I think they're going to be doing it. But that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. They could change their minds, but who knows? Anyway, with that said, that's all I have to say about that. What else? Is there anything else going on besides my birthday today? Yeah, like I said earlier, today is my 38th birthday. Unfortunately, like I said earlier, things didn't go the way I wanted to plan just yet. May have to wait a day or so to do it. But yeah, I'm 38. Looking, I don't, a lot of people will say that I don't really look that old, especially if I shave this off. I don't really look that old, but I that's a family trait, because people will look at my sisters, they'll look at my mom, and they'll say, man, they don't look as old as they are, but we are, but they are, but but they are, but like I said, this is a natural trait. So yeah, today's my birthday, and as you will see, yesterday I did open sort of a birthday gift from Midtown Comics. Midtown Comics, as you will see, sent me some comics that I'd ordered, and what's funny about that is what's funny about this is that originally it was being distributed, the package was being distributed by UPS, but it was being done by UPS Mail Innovations. And the estimated delivery date by UPS was this past Saturday, when it was actually yesterday. My only thought process on that is they estimated delivery to the United States Postal Service by Saturday, and by the 22nd, which was Saturday, and then delivery yesterday. So yeah, I ended up getting some comics from them. I will say this though, Midtown Comics and Mile High Comics are good services. They're good online physical stores to go to shop in, or shop with, and shop in if you live in the vicinity. But I will say this: if you don't have a comic in stock, don't have it advertised. That's what I'm going to say, because one of the comics I wanted to get, they did not have advertised, and unfortunately, they didn't have any back orders for it. And this is not the first time this has happened, but I think what Midtown Comics and Mile High Comics and any online comic store needs to do is if you don't have it, don't list it. In other words, if you say, okay, I'm looking for such and such issue, don't have it listed and put people's hopes up thinking they're going to get it, and then you find out, oh, we don't have it. So I think what needs to be done is they need to fix that, and they need to fix it immediately. So overall though, I ended up getting some comics. You'll see that in the package opening later. But I do want to talk about some other things just real quickly. I want to talk about some of the news that came out of E3 about a little over a month ago. Of course, we've already known about the SNES Classic coming, and thankfully, according to what Andre Meadows of Black Nerd Comedy talked about when he did a live video, or basically did a video at San Diego Comic-Con while he was at the display, while he was at the Nintendo area there. Yeah, it was surprising. Nintendo had a booth or whatever at San Diego Comic-Con. But yeah, Andre went there and he did a little short video showing us how small it is compared to his hand and all that. And one thing he did say that he found out is, thankfully, this classic edition that's coming out is going to have a little bit more quantity to it than the SNES Classic. So hopefully I'll be able to get it. Hopefully I'll be able to get my hands on it when it comes out, because I would love to have that. I mean, yeah, I do have a physical original Super Nintendo, which I got thanks to my family, because my long story short, it was a long time ago. My niece had 2 Super Nintendos and they were not using one. So I came out for a visit. I think it was around 96. And they said, let your uncle have it and take it back with him. And that's what I did. So yeah, I have a Super Nintendo that was given to me by my family. So I have an original Super Nintendo. I would love to get the Super Nintendo Classic Edition, because it's got all those games, including Star Fox 2. So hopefully I'll be able to get my hands on it in September. The other system I'm hoping to get my hands on comes out in the holiday season, maybe sooner, and that's the Retron 77, which is basically the Retron's answer for the Atari 2600. You know, a lot of us don't like, and the reason it's their answer to the 2600, well, basically that's what it is. It's a up-to-date 2600. That's what it is. And the reason this has been created is because I think there's been several complaints, even by probably those at Retron or Hyperink that work there. There's probably been several complaints of the fact that they're getting sick and tired of always having to go out and buy an extra accessory or extra part just to play their games on the modern TVs. They always have to get that female part, that female conductor, whatever you call it, to connect to play their games. So basically, Hyperink came up with the solution with the Retron 77, and from what we understand, it plays both 26 and 7800 games. So that's pretty good. And it's got a resolution of 1080, not 720. Well, I think it's between 720 and 1080. And I think it has not just an HDMI cable, but it has an audio video cables as well, depending on your TV that you have that you're going to play it on. And the crowning jewel in all this, though, the real eye catcher was, this is not going to be an emulation game in a sense. It's going to be an actual Atari console that plays actual Atari cartridges. So Atari cartridges, which is game cartridges, which go cheap on Amazon and eBay. Hopefully, I got a feeling may skyrocket a little bit in price when this thing comes out, but I will try to get my hands on some of them so that when I get the system, if I can, I'll be able to play these games again, this time in high definition. Not saying I can't play them in high definition now, because I do have a I do have things kind of connected in the sense that with the flashback that I have, I can make that happen. Basically, long story short, I have those special connectors that they sell that allow you to take your audio video and convert it to high definition. So hopefully, hopefully I won't have to worry about that much longer when I get this Retron 77. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really happy that they're doing it. Um, Speaking of Atari, they also have a new system they got coming. They just showed off a CGI render. Well, I wouldn't say it's a CGI render. I'd say it's more of a sort of a hybrid of a CGI render. Like, it's probably a prototype CGI make to show you what it hopefully will look like when it's done. It's called the Atari Box, and from what we understand, it's supposed to play classic games and new games. We don't know what that means. Apparently, the ports on the front of it are USB ports. So when the system comes out, the controls will be USB controllers. So we'll just have to wait and see. We don't know much about it. We don't know if it's CD based. It's going to be cartridge based. We don't know if it's just going to be an emulator. We don't know if you just have to take an SD card, get games on it, and then play it like that. We don't know. But hopefully we'll find out more as the year goes on and going into next year. I've got a feeling when we find out more, will be like I said earlier about the Sonic comic. We'll find out more probably come New York Comic Con. We'll probably find out more then. We'll probably find out more at the CES if they do we'll probably find out more at the CES event if they still do those. And mostly, if we don't find out anything in between now, New York Comic Con, the CES event, most likely we'll find out more come next year at E3. But really, this is something to I guess if you're a nostalgic fan and one of your first consoles was an Atari console, especially the 2600, this is something to get excited about when it happens. I mean, I know a lot of people, whether they want to admit it or not, are excited about the Retron 77 because it kind of saves them the hassle of having to go out, buy a 2600 or dust off their old 2600 and get that female connection part to play it on the modern TVs. This saves them that trouble for not doing that, thankfully. And thankfully, and hopefully it'll be a success for Hyperink and the Retron series down the line. One thing though that a lot of people kind of are not sure about, and I mentioned this before, is the whole price range of the $80 price range, or proposed suggestive retail price of $80. I look at it this way. I think what Pat the NES Punk, and his friend Ian pointed out is you got these save options. I think you're going to have an SD slot in there, and that probably helps. That's probably a reasoning for the price being a little higher than the Retron HD, which was their answer to the NES Classic. So, there's the reason there. But hopefully before the console comes out this year during the holiday season, they may drop the price range to where it could be more affordable for people to get as gifts. So we'll have to wait and see what they do there. Overall, though, I I'm really excited about this. I really am. I mean, the fact that we're going to get basically a remastered, I guess you could say, a remastered or reissuing of the Atari 2600 for this generation is I think pretty neat, and maybe it'll help introduce this current generation to what made, as many people have said, video games fun in the past. But we'll have to wait and see. Overall, though, there's not really much more to say here on the topics on my mind. This special live 38th birthday topics on my mind. Let me know what you guys think down below. Let me check the chat, see if there's anything here. Nope. Probably get some chats later, but sorry, my finger at the mic there. But again, that's really all I have to say on some of the topics on my mind. Okay. Oh, I know one wrestling one that people want me to talk about. The whole Jason Jordan Kurt Angle storyline. Let me talk about that briefly. I don't see anything bad about this, really. I mean, today, because here's the thing. From a character perspective, from a storyline, if not a character perspective, you got to look at how this affects an on-air character like Kurt Angle. Like, this is something he doesn't want to be brought out into the open. He didn't want brought out into the open, but figured, you know what? We got to do this. We got to get it over with. And I know a lot of people kind of crapping on it because they're like, well, you could have done more. You could have made it a little bit more risky. You could have taken a risk. You got to remember, though, and I think Don Tony said it best, and Solomonster said it best. I think everybody says it best. People are not too, WWE might be too, they might take risk at times in this day and age, but when it comes to the PR department and becomes the public image nowadays, they don't want to take too many risks. And you may not like how the direction they've gone in with the Kurt Angle storyline along with Jason Jordan, but I think here's the thing. I think we just need to let it play out and see what happens. I mean, you have Andre Colbert basically pointing out already that he sees a heel turn coming, and he sees a heel turn with Jason Jordan turning on Kurt Angle. And that might happen, or you might have them both turn heel. Who knows? But basically, Andre Colbert sees Jason Jordan turning heel and turning on Kurt Angle down the line, and probably aligning himself with Stephanie McMahon and Triple H. And that might happen too, because you think about it. He's sort of a fresh face on Raw. He's young. He's got a lot of years ahead of him. And he's basically like Kurt Angle 2.0 in a sense. So why wouldn't you want that on your side in the Authority and be your next chosen champion? So I would say let's let it play out. Not a lot of people may like the idea of Jason Jordan being revealed as Kurt Angle's son, but I say let's let it play out. Let's see what happens, and not judge it. Because right now, when you think about it, it might be the more interesting, intriguing storyline we got going, besides the universal fatal four-way storyline we have happening for the Universal Championship at SummerSlam. So, like I said, let's just let it play out. Let's just let it play out, because right now, apparently, what it's going to lead towards, it seems, is Jason Jordan becoming Intercontinental Champion. That's what it sounds like it's leading towards, because he's supposed to be a guest on Miz TV next week. So I would expect Jason Jordan is going to be put right in line for an Intercontinental title shot because, like I said, people could say he's like Kurt Angle 2.0, but I also see him in the similar position that Shelton Benjamin was in when he split off from Charlie Haas. So we'll have to wait and see what they do. But it sounds like the first major feud he's going to have is with Miz, and I think he's going to have Rollins and Ambrose at his side. So maybe that's the new Shield. We don't know. But I would expect Jason Jordan's first feud is going to lead to him being the Intercontinental Champion. And then from there, you could start doing the slow heel turn for him. And then maybe that's when you go towards the Kurt Angle, him turning on Kurt Angle and probably aligning himself with the Authority. We'll have to wait and see. Sorry, my finger hit the mic again. I know it's hitting the mic a lot today, so I apologize. But that's my thoughts on that. And as far as GFW goes, I know some people are going to crap on it and say it could do better, and it can. And that Destination X is one of the times, the 2 weeks, hopefully, because it's going to be 2 weeks. It's not going to be one night. If it's one night, I'd be surprised. But it's going to be one of the one nights or 2 nights, depending on if they do it 2 parts, for them to really prove that, they can be something, somewhat of an alternative to WWE. They can be what the wrestling fans want in a wrestling promotion. So GFW, though, I'm going to say this. They started out hot with Slammiversary, and then they kind of simmered down. I say give it time because it's kind of a rebuilding process for the company. They still have to, basically, they're still trying to find what works and what doesn't. And I've got a feeling sooner more than later, they're going to give us an answer as to what they feel they, along with maybe fan input, are going to find out what works and what doesn't, and then they're going to go from there. So that's all I could say on that, but that's all I'm going to say about that. So anyway, that's all I'm really going to say, folks, here on this special live birthday edition, 38th birthday edition of Topics on My Mind. Thank you all for watching live. I appreciate it. Tune into my channel, subscribe, let people know. Hit the notification bell to know about any of the videos I do. And that's really all I'm going to say today. Thank you all for watching live. Thank you all for watching post live. And let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. And I am out. God bless. Take care. But basically everything I've talked about here, that's just my opinions for this on what I feel and how I feel about them, how I feel about these topics. And that's all I'm going to say. So till next time, God bless. Take care.